Okay, so now we're on YouTube. We're live. Okay, just for everyone's information, we are live on YouTube. And hi, Deepa. Good evening.
You're muted.
Hi, Lavanya.
Hello.
How are you all?
We're doing fine.
I'm fine.
Please meet the power couple, Rafiq and Deepa.
Hi.
How are you all? We're doing fine.
Hi, Lavanya. Did I miss anything? Sorry, I just got back.
No, not at all. We just
Okay.
chatting. Deepa joined, and Deepa and Rafiq are a power couple,
Oh.
as you'd like to refer to them.
That's
Rafiq,
great.
Very sweet couple who we've worked with on many assignments.
We are on live. Hope.
That's great. That's great. Nice meeting you, Deepa.
Hi, Shani. Same here.
Great,
How are you
thank
doing?
I'm doing perfectly all right today. Thank you. I
Great.
hope you too.
And just
Yeah.
so you all
Meet
know,
Tamil, Deepa.
Yeah,
Hi,
hi.
Raman Sharma. How?
Hi,
Hi.
hi, I'm good. Good to see you.
Deepa is my partner
Uh,
in
great.
crime,
nice to meet you, Deepa.
in crime.
In crime.
All crimes.
all crime.
That's nice.
Being lawyers, we can't remove crime from our life.
Oh my God.
That's part of your life, I believe.
That's Hi, Priya.
Good evening, Priya.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening, sir. Good
Good
evening,
evening.
everyone.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, my camera is off. It's not working.
no problem. No problem.
No problem at all.
Okay.
You are an early guest.
I'll be active otherwise.
Yeah, you are.
That's more important.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we just wait.
I think we have 2 minutes.
We have 2 minutes.
Two
Yeah.
minutes.
The panel guests, please, the co-host and panel guests, please stay back after the event is over,
Yeah,
Done.
sure.
just for a few minutes. Hello, Venkatesan. Good evening. We'll give it a minute, perhaps. Just
Yep.
give it another minute and
Yep.
then we will start.
Yeah.
Okay, we will be starting shortly. In about a minute, we will start.
நேம் போட்டு இது போடுங்க உன்னையும் போடு உங்களுக்கு தெரியாது உன் பேர் தப்பா போடுவாங்க அந்த அக்கௌண்ட் தானே எதுக்கு
Okay, we will get started. So, hello everyone. We still have a few people who will be joining in as we move through. But first of all, a very warm welcome to all of you. For those of you who are joining in, please go ahead and tell us in the chat box or in the comments, either in Zoom or YouTube, however you are viewing this event, which city you are joining in from. If you are outside of India, which country are you joining us from? Do tell us. We would love to hear from you. My name is Lavanya Soman, and I will be your host for today. My pronouns are she and her. I'm the founder of Straight Circles, a diversity and inclusion consulting company that helps organizations with the tools and resources to create awareness, empower people, and foster inclusive workplaces. In short, anything to do with diversity and inclusion, and we are your go-to people. Blending in with Pride is our annual panel event focused on creating awareness in the LGBTQ space. And today is season 2, which is our second year since we started. Today's topic focuses on fostering trans-inclusive workplaces. Very often we misconstrue the transgender identity, and there are so many inappropriate conclusions drawn as a result. So here is some very basic information that every single person needs to know. A transgender person is someone whose gender identity or gender expression, the way they think or feel, is not the same or does not correspond with their sex assigned at birth. I'm actually going to repeat it again. A transgender person is someone whose gender identity or gender expression, the way they think or feel, does not correspond with their sex assigned at birth. Also, not every trans person goes through a gender reassignment surgery. So in the mind of the common human, there is often this conflict, right? Like, how do I refer to the person? Is it he, she, right? And that's why using the right pronouns are so important. And if you're wondering, I don't know what their pronouns are, right? Whenever in doubt, all you have to do is just ask. Just ask them. That's all that is required, right? So, okay, so the LGBTQ community using pronouns, it all sounds all okay, right? But why should people outside the community use their pronouns, right? In fact, I got this question like some time ago, when someone asked me this, right? Lavanya, you were born a woman and you identify as a woman, but why are you using your pronouns, right? And that's why, my dear friends, this is where we bring in inclusion. We all coexist together in this earthly ecosystem. So why are we separating and excluding people? If you want to foster inclusion with the LGBTQ community, the least you could do is to add pronouns to your name and stand up in solidarity as an ally. So remember that the change starts with us, right? The change always begins with us. So friends, if you've logged in with your name, I request you all to add your pronouns as well immediately, right? That's the first change you can always make as you stand up as an ally. So let's make that change together, shall we? Let's do it now. Please go ahead. If you've logged in via Zoom, please add your pronouns along with your name, and let's stand in solidarity. So on that note, let's go with the introductions. It's my pleasure to introduce our panel guest for today. And our first guest is Prahasini. Her pronouns are she and her. Prahasini is an independent working transgender woman. She works as a product analyst at the NatWest Group in India. Prahasini is a passionate about dance, theater, and acting, and loves reading books and listening to music. Prahasini is also a part of the NatWest Rainbow Network India Core Working Group and is working with the local community support groups based out of Chennai in terms of creating job opportunities for the LGBTQIA+ community and also doing volunteering work with these support groups. So welcome on board, Prahasini, and kudos to all the work that you're doing. It's great to have you here. And our second guest for today is Mohammad Rafiq. His pronouns are he and him. Mohammad Rafiq is a lawyer having 32 years of practice. He is the co-founder of We Legal, a law firm focused on simplifying the law and court proceedings in India. I can't agree with it more. The law is so complicated, and We Legal team literally decodes and makes it very simple for us. So We Legal offers various corporate trainings on the legal topics. It imparts training on the laws related to the prevention of sexual harassment against women, children, and transgender. So welcome on board, Rafiq. It's good to have you here. And finally, it's my pleasure to introduce my co-host for today, Kamalsevan Mahalingam. His pronouns are he and him. Kamal is the founder and CEO of Future Captains, an edutech and career ecosystem for students and professionals. Future Captains has worked with more than 25 plus educational institutions in providing career planning for senior secondary, UG, and PG students. With over 20 plus years of experience, Kamal is a true people professional, having worked with organizations like CTS, Wipro, and Hexaware. To me, Kamal is a real vocal live wire when it comes to standing up for social injustices. So before I hand over to Kamal, just a quick note to everyone. We would like this session to be as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, please use the chat box, the comments box to keep your questions coming, and we will take your questions as we proceed forward to the session. So on that note, over to you, Kamal.
Yeah, first of all, welcome everyone to this wonderful session. I want to be part of this session purely because I'm a learner. I think there's a lot of things that I need to learn myself on this, being sensitive to this transgender community. Things that I believe I should have started very early on, and unfortunately, I couldn't really catch up on that. But now, since Lavanya has been a very good friend for many years, and she's been doing a lot of great work in this space, I think I just want to grab this opportunity with both my hands and say, okay, let me be part of this, right? And let's do something about it. And I'm committed to the cause of helping people find their path. At the same time, I believe it's very important to be sensitive to the identity of every human being who's out there, and give everybody an opportunity to be inclusive and treat them in an equal way. So I believe this session would be an eye-opener for me, and I'm looking forward to hearing from Prahasini and as well as from Rafiq sir. Both of you, I think I'm here as a learner, and trust me, I'm going to ask a lot of questions whenever I'm in book. So bear with me on that part, but looking forward, truly looking. Over to you, Lavanya.
So yeah, thank you, Kamal, and I'm glad for the diversity on the panel team here. So we're going to start with the first question to Prahasini. Prahasini, it's what a journey that you've had, and all of us are just so looking forward to understanding from you, what is it like, what has it been like, your journey at the workplace, and how have you been able to sort of support and just support your environment around. It will be just great to know your journey.
Sure, Lavanya. First of all, good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure. So I'm so glad. So thanks for inviting me as well. So I'm glad being a part of this session. So Tamil, please include me in your learning journey, because even because every one of us are learning. Yeah. So even so, please include me as well, because as we say, because there is no 0 and 1. Because likewise, there is no black and white. In between, there is a rainbow in it already. So there are a lot of colors in it, and there are a lot of terms and definitions that are keep on coming. So that is the reason why they put, okay, the LGBTQIA+, okay, which means there are a lot of identities, lot of differences. It's okay to be different, and it's okay to be not okay. So etc. We can keep adding this. So there are even I'm aware of certain few definitions, few differences. However, there are many unknown identities, differences are out there. So hence, please include me into your learning journey. I'm just still trying to learn these stuff as much as I could. So that's why that is the one which I just wanted to update. Okay, so to answer your question, Lavanya, especially my coming out journey at my workplace. So it happened around almost 4 years back. So when I decided to come out at my workplace, initially I have had a very less visibility in terms of understanding the concept of the LGBTQIA+. I had very less visibility on the community. On the other hand, I was so afraid in terms of continuing the job with the gender identity, that I know that I because I identified myself as a trans woman. However, I hid my gender identity at the workplace because of my commitments, and I had to support my immediate family members. So there were multiple reasons behind that. So hence I had to hide my gender identity at the workplace. But when I decided to come out, I was afraid, like I said, and I thought of quitting the job. But then I spoke to one of my colleagues in the Rainbow Network team, so which is our employee resource group that sits within the organization. So I expressed my gender identity to the first, and they motivated me to stay back, because I had the great amount of support, because they are there. So hence they said, okay, that they are here to provide all sort of support. This is what they said, and they motivated me to stay back. So hence that could be used as a turning point, that I could say that's a turning point. Then I continue working at the workplace. Then one fine day, I invited my manager. That time I worked with a 15 members team in the workplace. Okay, I invited managers separately as per the advice that I got from the Rainbow Network. So I spoke to my manager and I expressed my gender identity, and he was absolutely fine with it. And even he raised a question, okay, whether I could continue with the same subject, because he was, because he had a little visibility, but he was absolutely fine with it. But he had little curiosity about how exactly it's going to be, because for him it's a new thing. So hence he wanted to learn, because during that time my organization was taking little baby steps in terms of incorporating all the LGBTQA related, creating sentences, etc. So they were taking baby steps in terms of creating the inclusive environment. So it was absolutely new to him as well, but however he was absolutely okay with that. Then before I come out to before coming out to my own fellow 15 colleagues in my team, so what I did was, I placed the rainbow flag at my workplace in the cubicle. So one fine day, I took the flag and I kept it in my workspace, my desk. Okay, and then the next day, what I did was, I wore the rainbow colored lanyard. I was simply wearing the rainbow colored lanyard while going to the office. So my own colleagues, they started assuming that I could be a gay person. I did that is not supposed to do, but because even for them it's a new journey, but it is these concepts are completely new for them as well. It all happened some 4 years back, so hence they were clueless. Okay, what I'm at the time of what I was going through that time. So then I decided, and I invited all the 15 members to a separate conference room. I took them to the conference room, and then I expressed my gender identity to them. This is who I am. That is my gender identity, and I decided to undergo the medical transition, etc. So, and I never forget the moment, because the moment when I expressed all about mine to my colleagues, okay, none of the people raised any questions, which means they are fully supported. They are really they are completely okay with it, and they raised full support to me. So that I never forget that moment that happened in my life. So that is how my coming out journey went place. Then I took them along along with me onto my medical transition. Then so after coming out at the workplace, then I informed the respective HR people, my senior leadership team, and then okay, I have put up the plan that okay, that I decided to stay on the hormones for 1 year before I undertake the surgery. Okay, then on followed that I requested for the special the leave. Fortunately, I had the sickness absence in my space. So hence, I utilized the same. I've got an approval to utilize all those leaves to complete my surgery and as well as the aftercare. So, which means they arranged everything. Meanwhile, they already started working on changing the documentation side, like from a legal transition perspective, because to update my name, pronouns, email ID, etc. in the background in the Workday, so in the HR database as well. So they already started looking into it. Then so I demonstrated my live transition journey to my colleagues and other colleagues across departments in my organization, which was well received, and I got a full amount of support from them. I have had no issues while during my transition journey at the workplace. This is how that magic happened, Lavanya. Yeah.
Oh, that is just great. I mean, just to have the community stand in support with you is just fabulous to sort of hear, Prahasmi. So was the Rainbow Network already existent when you had when
Yes.
you
Yeah.
started to come out? It was already
Yes.
existent. Oh, that's
Existing, but yeah, it is already it was there, and that time they started taking little steps in terms of creating the inclusive workplace. Then I came out as a trans woman in the workplace. Then um, then then they gained an opportunity upon what sort of infrastructure and other facilities needs to be put in place to support me at the workplace, and they did all that. So yeah, that's how they built the inclusive workplace.
so they
in
brought in
India.
all the policies and all the guidelines.
They already started looking into it since the ERG has set up. Okay, but the moment when I started coming out at the workplace, because I put up the requirement, like I asked them, okay, that I need to update my name, and I need to have probably of course the time I was happy to get into the female restroom, but I was not comfortable going into the women restroom without completing the surgery. So hence, I used the gender neutral restroom. So hence, these were all the requirements that had been put forwarded, and they started building the same and also updating the existing policies. Policies are already there. Of course, then some of the extra stuff that they really they had to undertake. They had to update the internal policies, the leave support, insurance support, etc., etc. Then they had to start working on all this stuff, and then now it is an inclusive workplace now. Yeah.
So I mean, just one last question, just before we just sort of move.
That's fine, no problem. Yeah.
Was there, like, when you speak about washrooms, right? Like, when you say gender neutral, was there one constructed specifically for your purpose, or was it the PWD washroom,
Yeah. So
facility washroom that was converted?
yes, Lavanya. So that time, there were no gender neutral restrooms, at my workplace some 4 years back. So I used the restroom which is already built for the people with the disability.
Right.
Disabilities. So I used that. Okay. Then because for them it is really difficult to construct a separate gender neutral restroom, right? So hence, they converted the one which is already assigned for the people with disabilities into the all accessible toilet.
Right.
So that everyone can access the same toilet irrespective of their identities or sexual orientation, or even with people with disabilities. So anyone can access. So that's all accessible gender neutral restroom. And they started making these changes that from infra level support, because it happened at around during the time period of now October and November 2019. So they started making all these changes because I underwent surgery in November 2019. Okay. And at the same time, they already started making all the infra level changes. Okay. But unfortunately, 2020, from March, as everyone knows, that the COVID pandemic had started. So hence, everyone started working from home. So hence, even I'm still continue doing the work from home. But they are in the back that they already upgrading the infrastructure facility at each floor within my office premises. So which is now it is there already now. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's like a lot. That's a big journey. The fact that a community was there to back you up. And on that note, talking about policies and procedures brings up a question for Rafiq. Can you sort of tell us, give us an idea about what the Transgender Person Act of 2019 is all about, and how are features from the act? How does it sort of orient with the company policy for making the workplace trans inclusive?
All right. Prahasini, I appreciate what a journey you are, and I'm proud to share this panel with you. Lavanya, Captain, thank you for having me, and most of names are familiar to me in the audience. Well, let's get into Lavanya. Can I do some presentation?
Yeah, sure. Of course.
Thank you. All right. So after Prahasini's story, now I'm getting into my regular mode. All right. So basically, when we talk about law, in that case, any law, we start with our fundamental rights. Being Indian citizens, we have certain rights that is called fundamental rights. But the fundamental rights are not unconditional. It has some restrictions too. I'm not getting into that detail. I've only listed 5 rights over here. Just connect our topic of today. That is one, right to live. We all have a right to live. When it says right to live, 2 words added there, with dignity. Supreme Court made it very clear, right to live under Constitution means right to live with the dignity. That 2 words have an immense force. It's not only you live, you need to, dignity is your matter of right. That's number 1. Number 2 is right to equality. You cannot be discriminated either with your region, religion, sex, and place of birth, etc. You have equal protection of law, whatever laws you have, and no kind of discrimination are approved by the Constitution. Number two. Number three is right to privacy. Certain things you have, again, that is also defined in a very poetic way. Right to be alone. That's the words used. Right to be alone. At some point or at some field, some area, you need your space, which you are not bound to divulge or disclose to anyone. That is right to privacy. Of course, right to privacy wasn't there during the forming of Constitution. We added very recently, right to privacy is part of a right to live. Then comes right to education. We all have, our children, they all have up to a level, up to an age, there is a right to education. It's a fundamental right. And right to employment. As long as it's legal, you can do any profession, any work in India, anywhere in the country. So every law which should go as per the in tune with the fundamental rights. Any law which goes against the fundamental rights would be declared void by the courts if it is challenged. Now, from this view, let's have a look at what is the Transgender Persons Rights Act gives us. Before that, this act has come, what we are discussing, followed by a judgment, which is more popular than the law itself. We call it NALSA judgment. It was in 2014. That judgment running hundreds of 100 pages. But if I take only one quote from that judgment, that gives you the entire meaning of that judgment. You don't have to read it. It says, Justice Radhakrishnan, recognition of transgender as a third gender is not a social or medical issue, but is a human rights issue. So don't think that you extend some privileges or honor because socially you are trying to include people. No. Don't take that it's a medical issue. Okay, they have like any other thing. No. Then what it is? It's a human right. What you and I do have the same right because we are human. And human rights does not stop in Constitution. Human rights goes our International Human Declaration. So it's a human right issue. Now let's come to what is the law. Very recent. Normally, the life of a law, it takes at least 6 to 10 years to settle the terms. Because many people go to court and each section, the courts say it should be like this and courts interpret. And according to that, this law was implemented in 2020. It was passed in 2019. So even today, it's in a very infant stage. Things are changing as per the Supreme Court and High Court judgment. If time permits, few judgments we will discuss. So some features of the law. One is it's a central law, means this law applies across the country. No state government require any kind of proclamation from their side. They of course can do they have some obligations. That is the reason you have seen recently Tamil Nadu has come out with their policy. So is Karnataka, so is Kerala. So it has its own thing, but the law applies across the country, including Jammu and Kashmir. It is a special law. Now, what is special law? If there is a special law, there must be a general law, right? That's the normal thing. So special law are being framed for the benefit of a particular class of the society. We have special law for women. We have special law for children. We have special law for disabled people. We have special law for senior citizens. And we have special law for transgender. So it is a special law. Now, what is the significance of this special law? If in court, if any clash, or we call it contradiction, comes between a general law and a special law, always special law prevails. What is written in special law would have an upper hand against the general law. So that's the basic difference. So Transgender Act is a special law. It applies to all establishments, including the private enterprises. Any institution, any companies, it applies. And it recognizes third gender. Now, there is a point here. The law, neither law nor the NALSA judgment we discussed a little while ago, has differentiated a trans man and trans woman. They rather included all transgender group as third gender. So you have a male, you have a female, you have a third gender. That's it. No more gender, no, because everything comes under third gender. Am I clear? So third gender is prevailing since 2014 by Supreme Court, and 2019 it is as a law. Now it prohibits any kind of discrimination. We discussed what is discrimination. If you ask me, the most distinguished feature of this law is I have an absolute freedom to declare my gender. I don't need any kind of medical test or medical certificate. I don't need, if I say I am a male or a female, it is absolutely my self-perspective. It's called self-declared gender. So suppose transgender, they have a system, you can have a transgender identity card. There is no column to specify you are a trans man or a trans woman. It's not only applies to transgender. Anyone can, in India, anyone can declare, see, I look like a man, I'm a man. But how do you know what is my sexual orientation? What is my interest? What is my preferences in sex? No one knows, and I am not supposed to tell anyone because it is a private, it parts of my privacy. So therefore, gender, sexual identity or sexual orientation is slightly different. So this is, I can declare myself. This is the most fundamental aspects has come out through this law. And there is a grievance redressal mechanism. Means if it is in a company, if they have transgender employees, then they can approach a complaint officer, and that is a compulsory thing. Same way, suppose I am a transgender, I am not working anyway, then where do I go with my grievance? There is a National Council for Transgender Person. There's a big website. They update everything. If you have a complaint or grievance, you can post there. Also, under this law, transgender can approach police for action. So, in short, the transgender law is this. 3 more points. There should be adequate healthcare facilities for transgender in every state. This is a state responsibility. They should ensure that There should be adequate healthcare facilities. Then inclusive education, again state responsibility. The schools, our any educational institution should have a non-discriminatory atmosphere. Even in school, one should not ask a transgender person what is your sexual identity. So and the third one is shelter. No parents or family could oust the transgender children from home, though we used to hear that kind of stories, maybe a little older, or no one can refuse a rented accommodation only on the ground that the tenant, the person who's asking, is a transgender. So this is the law in short. Within the given time, we can discuss this. If you have any doubt, I will take some questions. Yeah, Captain.
Yeah. So I have a very interesting question actually.
Yeah,
I don't know, it's
please.
interesting for me.
Please.
So I wanted to know, like, is there any law that enforces, companies and or structured bodies to sensitize their employees or students or anything on the transgender rights and their sensitize them that how do you respect them and give them equal space? Is there any framework that is there in the legal, IP at a legal level?
Absolutely. Even this law, in fact, we have only one law which deals with transgender is Transgender Persons Protection Right 2019. One of the compliances required by every establishment as well as educational institution, they should have some kind of training. My second point here, gender sensitivity training for the employees, and that is a compulsory thing. And the problem is people are not aware. There are companies, they do this training as an initiative of them, but there is a direction. Every company should do a kind of gender sensitivity, means you sensitize your people how to deal, how to think. So in my next session, this policy initiative, as Lavanya asked, I included this gender sensitivity training. Hope I answer, Captain.
Yes, you did. And
Thank
also, how would we have this POSH related? So how does POSH, cover transgender rights?
Okay. Okay. POSH doesn't cover transgender rights. Very simple answer. Neither a transgender, even I say woman, though there is no classification under law, I said, can go to IC, Internal Committee, constituted under POSH Act. That law is only addresses the complaints of women. But there is one exception. There was a case happened in Delhi before 2019 law has come. She was sexually harassed, and she approached the police. So Delhi police refused. She is a trans woman, Namika, and she was refused to lodge an FIR, and she approached Delhi High Court. Delhi High Court directed the Delhi police to take that complaint, because there is a corresponding, I'm sure you know that, there is a corresponding law under IPC, section 354A. So even that law talks about sexual harassment between man and a woman. So that was the reason it was refused. But Delhi High Court directed the person to the Delhi police to do it. So now so the question comes, how does where does a transgender person complain against sexual harassment in a company? because we discussed IC cannot take that. There is a complaint officer appointed by the person, appointed by the company, who has to deal with the sexual harassment complaint also, because it is considered as a harassment among other things. So personally, I'm not very happy with this, because IC has been trained to specially for dealing with sexual harassment. Even I'm one step ahead, it should be gender neutral. IC should consider men complaints, transgender complaints also. There's a lot of hue and cry in the society, and hopefully that change can come in the next amendment. But as on today, to answer your question, the complaint should go to either police under Transgender Act. There is a corresponding provision under Transgender Act, like 354A. Only difference is, in fact, that is, since you asked, one challenge. This law is under challenge before Supreme Court by the transgender communities as well. I'm sure Prahasini knows that. One reason is, in IPC, you have 3 years imprisonment, jail, for an offense of sexual harassment of a woman, whereas in Transgender Act, it is only 2 years maximum. So why this? It is a discrimination, because sexual harassment is sexual harassment. Should be the punishment should be same. So that is it. Yeah.
I have Sakshi Jain who's raised her hand. So
Yeah, Sakshi.
Lavanya, should we go for Q&A now, or should we park it for later? How do you want it?
Oh, we can take Sakshi's question.
Yeah, go ahead, Sakshi.
Sakshi, go ahead to unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone.
Hi,
Good
Sakshi. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, sir. Nice to see you again.
Same here. But I'm not able to see you.
I'll just switch on the video also.
Okay.
There was some network issue. I'll just
No
do
problem.
it.
No problem.
Sir, pertaining to this question about if transgenders are covered under POSH, I remember that we had discussed a case where there was a High Court verdict which actually allowed one case to be considered under POSH because the transgender identified herself as a woman. Am I right?
In fact, I mentioned that is the case. So it's Anamika versus State of
Okay,
Delhi.
it was the same one.
Same one. It did not go to POSH, Sakshi. It went to police IPC under section 354A. That
All
was
right.
refused.
Okay.
She never, the person never approached IC.
Okay. So it's out of area of POSH.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the problem is, you mentioned something, trans women. There is no such classification of trans man, trans woman under law. It is third gender. So in a POSH Act, technically, if it is declared as even trans woman, then it's difficult IC to take up that case, though there is no case reported yet. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome, Sakshi. The second limb of question of Lavanya, it's about what the companies can do. Mostly a policy initiative. It's a good question. In fact, if you ask me, I'm in this field. Many companies have done good work, commendable work towards inclusion and transgender also. Prahasini said her company's cooperation. So first thing, if you ask me, list out some of things where companies can do, they should check their policies. Because most of our policies, why policies, even laws are defined gender. It is male, female, husband, wife, son, daughter. So many of our policies also would have this gender things. So it should be checked. So if you ask me, if a company approach me, first I will start with this. Check all your policies, and wherever possible, because you cannot change against law, So wherever possible, you make it gender neutral. Then we discussed, Captain already asked me about training, the gender sensitive training. As you said initially about using of pronouns and what is the etiquette on that. Even until you said in the last training, I never knew. I used to think about this question. How do we check what to address, he or she? So the best way is to ask. So these sort of things, tips, you can share through training. Then healthcare facilities, when you do the insurance, please, wherever possible, you can negotiate with the insurance. Even a reaffirmation surgery can be included or not. I don't know about the commercial things about that. That is one. Then your effective redressal mechanism, what we discussed. Then restroom, Prahasini discussed, infrastructure things. Then though it's very trivial, but I'm very happy that Infosys, even Mahindra, they have removed the sex column from their application forms. Normally, we used to write sex MF. So that column is not there. That's what I was told. So that is a good initiative, and encourage allyship. That is one thing, Lavanya, I know you focus on. So wherever possible, though this point allyship culture I've taken outside India, the outside India people, the companies, they promote allyship and thing. And last one, avoid a pseudo inclusion just for the sake of including. It's better, you should not have, but if you do it seriously, you do it. So I think I answered question, Lavanya.
Yeah, thanks, Rafiq. Thank you for that. I mean, there's just quite a lot. I mean, especially there's the law on one side. Then how does that translate into policy at the workplace, or what you can do, what you can't do, what's within the control are all. That's quite a lot of insight that you have given. Thank you for that. Geetika, you have a question.
Yeah, Geetika.
Go ahead.
Sir, good evening and good
Good
evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with all of you on this platform here.
Same
Sir,
here.
I would like to just request one more time if you can just explain the allyship culture.
Allyship, I don't know, you joined when Lavanya introduced things. Geetika, I don't remember. In fact, if you look at the names, we've used in bracket the pronouns. It's an example for that. So the question Lavanya asked, why do, since we all are men, women, why do we add a pronoun? So it is basically support the community, because end of the day, we all are human beings.
Right.
So allyship is nothing, even if you feel you are a gender, a male or female, but you support the other groups. It's not only transgender. When I talk, you support the disabled people, you support the senior citizen, all this group. So that concept is called allyship.
So
Okay.
just
Right,
to,
sir.
yeah, that's great.
Lavanya, you
Rafiq,
want, you
sir.
can explain further.
I think Prahasini was coming to
Okay, just to-
say something.
Oh
Go
yeah, so I
ahead.
was, I thought of adding a couple of more points. Yeah, Rafiq. So thanks for initiating that, Rafiq. So Geetika, the role of an ally plays a really a very key role in terms of creating an inclusive culture wherever we are, whether being at a home or being at a workplace, wherever we are. So so asking for the name and the right pronoun, okay, that is the key one. So it's better to ask the people on the name and pronouns that they wanted them to be referred as. Okay, then you can have the gender neutral conversation. So like, for example,
Right.
instead of introducing your probably you could use partner as a gender neutral conversation. So term, okay, rather than using spouse while addressing
Right.
Yeah, to someone, right? So you always use partner. Partner is which is one of the examples of the gender neutral term. Okay, you could use, and never ever misgender. Never ever do that, actually misgendering by using the wrong name or the incorrect pronoun to a person. Okay, it will directly impact the person's mental health, because the mental health issue, because a person has to be really stable in terms of physical well-being and mental well-being. Okay, so especially the people from the LGBTQIA plus community, especially trans community, face a lot of mental stress in terms of, if you ask me any unprompted questions, okay, of course I might feel bad. It will impact
Yeah.
my own mental health issue. So that's one more, that never ever ask any unprompted questions to transgender persons, like for example, to ask their birth name, okay, the genital part, okay, the life before the transition, okay,
Okay.
etc. So, and then also
Right.
microaggression. Yeah, microaggression is one thing. Like even few people did ask me, they did told me, they did tell me that, okay, you don't look like a trans person, you look like a woman. Of course, I may treat this as a complimentary, but I won't take this as a complimentary, because you are already creating a negative impression of how a trans women should looks like. No, it is not the case, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. One
it is
shouldn't touch
yeah,
those
it is a
issues at
microaggression.
all, and
Yeah, it is
yeah.
it is covered under the microaggression. Okay, and then take time to understand and learn from each other.
Right.
Because each one of us experiences are unique, and try to
Unique.
learn from others. Okay, and try joining pride related events. As you know, June is the pride month, which we celebrate every year, so that you could join pride related events. You can join your hands with us. Okay, so that we can walk towards, so you can be a part of the pride march, and you can also try attending the queer film festival, which is happening across multiple cities. We have had one in Chennai, the Chennai Queer International Film Festival, that happened very recently. So likewise, as an ally, you could
Show your support.
create. Yeah, you can create.
Yes.
Ideally, ally is a person who doesn't belong to LGBT plus community. So
Right.
they are the supporters. They are allies. So that you can bring these changes while talking, or while making a conversation to your friends and families about what does LGBT means for them, and then you can create the change, because you are the great supporter for us, right?
Understood.
So of course you could
Understood.
you could create changes a lot. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prahasini. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Can I just contribute in this a little small piece of information I have, Gitika and Prahasini, about the allyship. I happened to attend the first transgender summit here in Gurgaon a few weeks back. That happened in November. So I met a few people who were very well placed in the industry, who were there on the panel, and who came out a few years back. And they were there on the panel, like talking about their journey. And when we talked about allyship, so one of them actually mentioned that after she opened up that she wants to change her name, and she went under surgery and came out in her company. But there was a senior member of her team who kept bullying her and kept on calling her by her birth name or the previous name, and kept addressing her as he, him. And she kind of, because it was only in the beginning stages, she at times she objected, at times she kept quiet. So after a few incidences, there was another colleague who stood up for her and told the senior manager that, sorry, please stop it. This is not accepted. We will not accept this behavior in our team or in our company. When the company has accepted this person, let us not have this behavior in our team. So this person actually wanted to tell all the allies that please do not be a silent ally. please come out and support. Please be a vocal ally.
Yeah, that's the power of an ally, Sakshi. Thanks for bringing this one. So that's so it's touched because it looks like that the organization having had a complete sensitization, because the sensitization has to reach across all levels in the organization, right from the senior leadership. It has to go across all levels. So it has to reach, the sensitization has to be provided to the people who work in the support, to the property services, facility team, the workplace side, housekeeping staffs, what are all the departments, and across to all employees, right from the top management to until the lower management. So that's when the changes would really takes place, because this was a fine example of the misgendering. It is actually not supposed to be. It is completely not acceptable. But yeah, thanks for bringing this, Sakshi.
Thank you for your question, Deepika. Sarita, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Lavanya. This is an awesome session. I'm enjoying it. I'm learning a lot from everyone. I have this question in my mind when I started seeing this in the LinkedIn, like using the pronouns. So I was wondering, like, why to make it obvious that I'm not a transgender by putting it he or she. Okay. Why to make it obvious? That was my question in my mind. Like, and I really don't know. Like, and if you can answer to that, like, why should I make it obvious?
Okay, so Sarita, of course, during the beginning, Lavanya had provided, a short brief about, especially in the value of using the right pronouns. Okay, because it is widely used to create an inclusive culture. Okay, because there are people who identifies themselves as gender non-binary. They are not really comfortable. They may not be comfortable with addressing as men or women. So they consider themselves a gender that is non-binary. So there are people out there like gender non-binary people, okay, gender fluid people, okay. So there are many differences are there. So we call there is a umbrella term which is called queer people, okay. So they may not be really comfortable in addressing as he or she, okay. So there are other pronouns as well, like they, them, okay, CZ. So lot of other stuff. So it is better to ask people to ask for their pronouns, whether you are even irrespective of if you are a cis men or cis women, okay, gay people or lesbian or trans people or whoever it is. It's better to ask, and we could create this culture of using the right pronoun. That's important, because as you know, Sarita, for example, okay, there are certain elements, because I'm a trans woman, okay. As you may be aware that, okay, certain things cannot be changed, especially our voice, okay. The certain things cannot be watched, which means, okay, I identify myself as a trans woman, okay. So without expressing my pronoun, okay, with the help of my voice, you are not supposed to address me as he or him, right? Okay, then I may not be really comfortable. That is the reason why I express myself. Okay, this is how I wanted to be called as. Hence, so I introduce myself as Prahasini. My pronouns are she and her, so that it will give you a clue that so that it would be very obvious that you can start having or making a conversation using the right pronoun with me, right? Okay. That's one the purpose. But yeah, sorry, anyone or Rafika or Lavanya, Tamil could add on more. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of reiterate, what I was mentioning at the beginning of the session is basically the whole idea of using pronouns is to not single out the LGBTQ community, right? We all coexist together. So when we all use our pronouns, our respective pronouns, irrespective of whether we are an ally or whether we belong to the LGBTQ community, it's the most inclusive way to coexist, right? So that way we're not singling out somebody as a trans person, we're not singling out somebody as queer as such. Yeah. That's the whole idea.
Okay, so I think I think yesterday something had happened in the social media in US that the Q, they have bullied couple of them because they have not used any pronouns. So if they have not used any pronouns, that means they are like transgenders or anything. So again, there was some kind of an issue which had happened, and my son saw that. He felt so bad. Why is that? Like, people are making fun of everything. If they are using it, then also there's a problem. If they're not using it, then there is a problem. So, no, again, he was actually in the morning sharing the same thing with me. Like, why is it so? So I was like, oh, I didn't actually notice that. Like, apart from he, there is they, them also they mentioned. I think I didn't notice that. Now that's a new thing for me. Yeah, I will start doing
There
that.
is so much of unlearning, self-unlearning that we also need to do. Like I mean, a small bit of unlearning that I have consciously done. It's taken me time, by the way, to even unlearn that. I used to have this habit of addressing a gender-neutral audience as "Hey guys," right? So they were predominantly men and women. But I would, even if women were there, it would be "Hey guys," and it used to be accepted before, right? But when we had folks, people from the trans community as part of the audience, they did not welcome it. So I would initially then, oh, okay, I'm aware of it, but "Hey guys" is a gender neutral term, and I would give that disclaimer at the beginning of my welcoming the audience, and I would say, "Hey guys, but this is a gender neutral term." No, it was still not accepted.
Yeah.
So, like how we address people as such, we have to ensure that it is really and literally gender neutral. So saying friends, saying people, they're all gender neutral terms. Okay, so
before that, I have a question to Prahasini, since we are discussing this.
Yeah.
How best we can frame this question? How do I ask a more comfortable way? How do I pronounce you, or what is your pronunciation? How do I address you? What is the best way to structure that question?
It is very simple, Rafiq, that you could ask me that how would you like you to be called as, like you can straightforward, you can ask that, okay, how would you want yourself to be called out, that your name and your pronouns, and then you can start making use of it, because there are, like you said, Rafiq, as part of the transgender persons, also it probably it may answer partially to Sarita's question as well. Okay, so there are people, so it is obviously not necessary for a person to undergo medical transition to prove themselves as a transgender person. It's the self-identified gender. So yeah, also people may not be really affordable in terms of completing. They may not be really affordable to complete the surgery, because there are a lot of phases in it, like legal transition, one has to undergo the medical and social transition. Okay, so each one of us, the journeys are really unique and different. Okay, not everyone is really affordable to do everything. So hence, some people, those who identify as a trans woman, okay, if they decided not to undertake any medical transition, okay, they may still use the male attire, okay, while going to the office or to the college or school, wherever it is. Okay, so with the help of the attire, we cannot assume things, right? We cannot address them as a he and him. So ideally, it is good to ask them, okay, what are your pronouns, so that if they are really, otherwise it will really affect their mental health. Okay. So hence, it is better to ask them, how do you like you to be referred? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
In fact, I recall an incident, that was shared to me by someone from who was an ally to the LGBTQ community, where they walked to a conference. It was a global conference, and all of the people who attended the conference, wore their pronouns on their their suit label. So no, that's not what was unique about it, or what was inclusive about it. They said literally, right? I mean, when you were looked at all the people, you cannot make out, right? A lot of the people did not look like how as to their sex assigned at birth, right? They were not able to, and which is the case, which is what we do come across in many, many situations. And so they said, like, this is how it is going to be, and this is what the world is going to look like, right? Very soon, very, very soon. So why not get used to it now? Why not start using pronouns now? And let that be. It doesn't matter whether you're an ally, it doesn't matter whether you're part of the LGBT.
Yeah.
Just use it. I know. Thank you, Rafiq, for that presentation and for sharing all the features as well. Tamala, did you have a question that you wanted to ask?
Actually, I wanted to add, so there are many ways to fight back.
Your voice is a little
Voice
low.
is breaking, Tamil.
Am I audible now?
No, a little low. Probably you could.
Am I audible? Is it?
Yes.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add to the pronouns, the discussion around the pronouns. I believe that there are ways to fight back. One is a very violent way to fight back. There's a non-violent way to fight back. I think pronouns is a very beautiful way of telling people.
Tamil,
sorry, we're not able to hear you.
There's some humming sound behind.
No worries.
Yeah, there's also a background noise. Not sure where it is coming from, and also not able to hear you well, Tamil. Yes, so sorry about that.
Okay. That's okay. You guys can carry on.
Now it's better.
Is it better?
Yes.
Okay. I said using pronouns is a nice non-violent way of standing up for something. I see it as an act of non-violence, and it's a very way. It's a very democratic way of saying that
I'm sorry. Again, we lost your voices. We heard the democratic.
Priya had a question, I think. Priya, you raised hand.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you so much for this enlightening session, first of all. Lots to learn from you all. I have a question. I used to go for walks in Kabban Park. Am I audible to all?
Yeah.
Yes, I used to go for walks.
Hello?
And I used to have a... Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, Priya, you are audible. Tamil, we will hold on. We actually thought we would hold on and move to Priya's question while you address your sound issues, audio issues. Okay, thank you.
Priya, you can
go ahead.
continue. Yeah, Kabban Park.
Sure. Thank you. So what I used to do is, I used to get connected with these people who used to come for their walks and all that in Kabban Park. So what I came to know, now we are talking about the corporate employees, but there are those who are begging on the streets, on the roads. So I used to have a chit chat with them and I used to inquire why they are not employed. So they said that nobody wants to employ them. So I wanted to know if we could do something about, helping them out. That must be in progress already. Because we have Chennai police who have employed the third gender. So I wanted to know what progress is happening in that front, so that I could also be a part of it.
So, I think Priya, Prahasini would be the right person to answer your question.
Yeah, let me try answering as much as I could, Priya. Thanks for the question. Okay. Because people may still calling that, okay, no one is ready to provide the employment. Okay, because I hope you would have heard what Rafiq had said all about what exactly the law says, etc. Okay, so which means that the center of the law, the special law is already there, which means, okay, then it has to be implemented across or at all levels. Okay, not only the corporate organizations. Okay, the corporate organizations, they are ahead of creating inclusive environment when compared to other organizations, to being the medical department or the other departments, entities, non-governmental organizations, private entities, etc., because we have a lot of micro level organizations that run out of our country, right? So which means the law and it's the support system really has to be created. It has to be implemented across all levels. Okay, which means the respective state government has to implement the same in terms of creating this right to employment, right to equality, okay, etc. It has to be really there, which means then the proper sensitization has to happen across to all the government employees, corporate organizations, every to all the people ideally. So which means I may address this to a lot of the one is the family acceptance, getting acceptance from the family is a vital one. Okay, okay. And secondly, creating an inclusive syllabus or the curriculum while during the school or in the college. So which means it has to be there. It must be a part of the syllabus, so that it has to be nurtured right from the childhood. Okay, that's the one thing, because probably you may think that, okay, what is it really is it really relevant? Of course it is really relevant, because getting acceptance from the family members is agree so that they get the right education. Okay, without having the proper education, okay, they are unfortunately they are getting into the sex work or or onto the begging work. Okay, ideally that is not really meant for the trans person to do. Okay, even there are many people like even cis people. It is we are not only doing this actually, these jobs, right? And sex work is also a job. Okay, for example, if a sex worker earns a minimum of for example, let's say, okay, if she earns at least 700 or 800 rupees per day through her sex work. Okay, however, if he gets her into a job and if they provide, okay, 300 or 400 rupees, okay, so it may not be really sufficient for her to support their livelihood, right? The survival matters, which means the minimum, because the companies really need to ensure that, okay, the minimum wages, okay, that has to be really set, which means there shouldn't be any discrimination as well. So they have to create the equal opportunity policy, so that it will be applicable for all people. And there has to be the active trans hiring efforts through the HR, so that because when we start creating an inclusive workplace, okay, then we will try hiring more number of trans people into the organization, right? So, and moreover, we will have to look at other facilities in terms of creating the anti-discriminatory policy and providing sensitization to all employees, and creating the restroom and other infrastructure facilities has to be there. Okay, providing health insurance and bringing medical benefits to trans people, creating the support system, creating the employee resource group to address their grievance and their crisis and to support their mental health issues. Okay, and then there has to be a robust advocacy of the trans policies, whether internally or out externally. Okay, so which means these are the steps that really needs to be there. Okay, for example, if you ask people to get into an organization, okay, not only the corporate, let's say example, those who you met you, if you get them an opportunity to work in a private company, okay, if they do not have all these facilities, okay, then how could you expect your people to really survive in the company? So it matters, right? So which means we will have to really think that perspective. On the same hand, okay, on the other hand, the trans person, okay, who really wanted to get into that, so it is also their responsibility as well to sustain the same. So they cannot, because we are putting all the efforts to hire them, right? Then which means the equal opportunity should goes to the trans person as well. They must they are accountable for the job, so they have to, because we want the trans persons to be financially independent women, right? Then so it is the complete accountable and the responsibility must be held by the trans people as well. So they have to really sustain and they have to plan for their own career vision, etc. So which means the help, the support, it has to come from both the sides. Okay, not just with the government or the organization, it has to come from the community as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
So much you have given all the information that I was looking for. So I would be glad to be a part of your team in some way. If I can contribute, it would be wonderful. I'm a part of such a team. So I used to go to Kabban Park a lot. And there are some, they are um, kind of looting people. So I did speak to them as to why you're doing this. They need counseling, they need some kind of help. If I could be a part of it, that would be wonderful.
oh, okay. Because the local community support groups, not sure where is the Kabban Park is located.
That's
Not
in
sure if it's
Bangalore. I'm here in Bangalore. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay, fine, perfect. Okay. So which means the local the community support group, probably they could create sensations. They could, because the looting the money and other the atrocities that the people are doing, that is completely not acceptable.
Yeah.
So that is wrong. Whoever it is doing, that is absolutely wrong. So which means they have to be sensitized.
So they require some kind of counseling, in fact, like what you said. If they're earning more in that manner, easier way, why would they want to get into the mainstream? So I think counseling is what would come into picture here.
Indeed,
What I want to understand.
They have to really liaise with a local community support group to get into the to get the peer counseling support. Likewise, because not sure whether they have that repo. Because as you see, majority of the trans people are not sure it is really relevant to the ongoing discussion topic. Okay, I'm so sorry about that, Lavanya, but okay, just to highlight, okay, there are people who belong to the Jamaat system. There is a system called Jamaat where people live together. Okay, so and they it is happening across generation where they are being involved into the sex work or the getting money or into the begging work. Okay, so which means they do not have the proper education. So I strongly believe that, okay, those who are really wanted to take care of the people within the Jamaat system, of course they need to really stand tall and stand apart, and they need to really support their own people in terms of providing the right education, and they have to make them independent rather than doing these activities on a generation through generation. It is happening through generation. That is absolutely not fair. But let's see. Let's hope for a bit. This is something, the change has to come from the individual person. Yeah, let's see. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Sorry if I took so long time. Sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. It was very, very insightful. Kamal, is your are you back?
I'm back. I hope I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, useful point, and I think a lot of great questions as well. And I wanted to kind of.
No, I think your voice is very low. Probably if you could hold.
Can you please bring your mic to closer to your mouth? Yeah.
It's still inaudible?
Yes, it's better now.
It's better?
Yes.
Yeah.
So first of all, for the pronouns, I wanted to kind of share my views. I don't know if you got the gist of what I wanted to say, but I said there are violent ways to fight back and there are non-violent ways to fight, right? And I believe pronouns is a very way of fighting back in a non-violent way and telling the world that you stand up for something. And at least it raises the question, what is that you're asking yourself, calling yourself as a him or her, so it kind of prompts the person to ask you, and you have an opportunity to explain why you do that, right? So it's also becomes a way to create curiosity and educate people. So that's how I see it. And that's the point I wanted to add. And secondly, coming to the point about how some transgenders behave while we are at the traffic or when we are visiting shops and they're doing it. I happened to spend few minutes at Besant Nagar Beach in Chennai, right? And this is something I really wanted to share. So there's a group of transgender women, trans women who were like walking towards us. Another friend of mine, he just ran away, seeing them, and I stood there, right? And so all the women came to me and asked me for money. I said, I have only 20 bucks in my pocket. And I gave, and they said, why you are giving me 20 bucks? You could give me more. I said, you check it yourself. I only have this much money. And so they just walked, and one girl stood with me and she was asking for more money. I said, see, I can't pay you now, but I can get you job if you are interested. Then she suddenly picked up and she said, she called everybody and said, this Anna will get us whatever, and they all phone number. Nobody called me back, but they're very nice way. I felt it opened my mind, right? I mean, there's this idea that we generally have, but we stand and we talk to people, respond differently. Like how when Prahasni about her own story, how, encouraged and they were standing up for her. I think that was a moment for me, like, when I felt like, okay, it's all boils down to simple act of love that you just have to be compassionate and, people will understand the language no matter
Indeed.
what.
Indeed.
But the moral of the story, I mean, to get to is, I think a lot of things goes through in life. I mean, I'm repeating this word because it's a word that I also closely fight for. I mean, the work that I do is again into equality, equity, inclusivity in a very different way, by means of occupation and the choose. But it's the memories that they kind of turmoil, turbulence that people go through is what pushes them to do such things. Is what I see. And if we can be a little kind and if we can be a little stand change. And everybody looks very rough and tough, but I think people are very soft. That's my subject.
Thanks, Tamal. In fact, that was just beautiful. It's like everyone needs to have that mindset of just being approachable. I totally, the fact that you were able to sit down and have a conversation, I must accept that, there are times when I feel very intimidated. I still do. And that's my journey to unlearn, to sit down, accept, acknowledge, and unlearn. And I hope to reach that goal. That's a personal goal I've set for myself, because I still feel intimidated to approach or speak to a trans person on the outside. I mean, and that's purely because of the aggression that they bring to themselves, right? So I mean, there's always an intersection, and it's everyone's job to just sit down and take that first step towards it. And you've given me courage, so I know I will sort of take that step forward to sort of try and have my first conversation with them, rather than just staying 10 miles apart. So thanks for that, Kamal. And so we're almost coming to the end of the session, and I'm going to probably, is there anyone with any questions? Does anyone want to ask any questions?
I have one question.
Go ahead, Priya.
Yeah. So I have this trainer friend of mine who happens to be on the other side of the fence. He calls himself as they. He calls me Behena. So I used to call him he. Now I would like to understand. I used to call him brother. Now today I understood that there are different pronouns. So how should I address the person?
So they is a very they again is a non-binary pronoun, right? So which means that they do not identify themselves to a particular gender. So they can take, and this is what is also there, even a trans person, and this happens even to trans people as well, right? So even when you see trans people who identify themselves with specific pronouns like he, him, today, tomorrow they can change their pronouns to she, her, they, them as well. It's very gender fluid, right? So the best way to address is how they would like. So if they put their pronouns as they, them, then that's how you address them, like they want to know, they need to know, they are asking. That's how you would, rather than using a gender assigned pronoun as such.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome, Priya. Prahasini, do you want to add to that?
No, that's absolutely fine, Lavanya. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay. So, I have a question, and this is for you, Rafiq. Basically, what is like the 3 critical areas, right, that need immediate focus from a legal standpoint?
Well, good question, Lavan. In fact, though we have a law, and fortunately, almost every high courts in our country, wherever the issues of transgender came, I did a survey, and it always came with a positive notes, positive judgments. The most significant I have noticed in Madras High Court, when a trans woman and a man got married, the marriage register refused to certify it, saying that it is trans woman. So, because under Hindu Marriage Act, Section 5, the bride word is defined. So, the registrar's contention was a trans woman will not come under the definition of bride. So, that was the court found it is not correct, because a trans woman can come under the bride because of the third gender thing, and directed the registrar to get solemnize the marriage and issue certificate. It's an example. If you take any court, including Supreme Court, they said that they give a lot of importance to this law and the community as a whole. Now, since you asked three things, I would say what we need a kind of bottom to top awareness. We should start awareness in schools, the children, because they are the it's though corporates in our country doing a lot of things. What about schools? The children should study together, sit, and children will not have the concept, the idea about themselves. So they should sit in a class, and teachers. So we need a kind of setup to start the sensitization from school to and level. That is one point. Second, in Supreme Court judgment, what I said 2014, there is one thing significantly mentioned but omitted in the law, is the transgender community should be considered as a other backward caste, that is OBC. Now, Muslim, Christian, some community caste in Hindu also OBC, for both education as well as employment. That part has not been addressed yet, though a couple of years back there was some kind of initiative from government to do that. And third thing, like I said, see, in our country, if you feel your fundamental right is violated, you have only one option: to approach court. So whether it's a small thing like this marriage or anything, the only way is to address is to approach court, file a writ in any high court or Supreme Court. If whatever the issue, the level, that the size of the issue, that's the only way we can get things addressed. So these are the three things, Lavanya.
Oh, this is absolutely great, and the fact that it all needs to start with a change in our education system. Brings me to the good news that we just saw recently of Tamil Nadu bringing in changes in the LGBTQ and insisting on educational institutions to start having them as part of their education is just great. Perfectly right. It just needs to start over there. And I hope all other states in the country follow suit soon.
It follows. There are changes in Karnataka. Now, for example, Karnataka government has already reserved 1% of all the vacancies of state government should be filled with the transgender. And in Delhi, one seat, the municipal corporation seat won by a transgender. So things are changing, because if a transgender could win, because someone has given a seat.
Absolutely.
So that's the way we should look into that, because ours is a larger country with a lot of population. We have more than compared to other things. So things are changing as let's look at optimistically. There are changes. There are things coming up. So we will look in that.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that insight. It brings us to the end of our panel event session. There's still so many questions actually that we have, but it's just great to have you all on this event. And to all our participants, thank you very much for joining the session this evening. It was a pleasure having all of you. And we hope that you all have a lot of takeaways from this session, that you can sort of be great allies in not just supporting, but who knows, like, you know, you will never know when someone needs it as well. So we hope that you have some takeaways from this session as well. So on that note, thank you everyone for joining, and have a wonderful evening, and have a wonderful weekend as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Lavanya.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Sprahasini. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Thank you
bye,
so much.
bye. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Lovely session.
Thank you.
Thank you, thanks for the feedback.
Thank you
Great
everyone for the
takeaways.
wonderful
Thank you so much.
interactive
Thank you.
session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great.
Have a great evening.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
wishing you the same. Thank you.
Rebecca, you could stop the live stream.